Welcome back to Dark Cinema Recaps. Today, we're taking a look at 2003's Wrong Turn. Thank you once again for regular commenter Brenda Keane for the suggestion. I honestly love this film, and the 2003 Wrong Turn
Didn't
is...
she ask for the Wrong Turn 2021 reboot?
Maybe. No, sure.
Are you ignoring a suggestion just because you don't like the film and you like a 22-year-old Isa Duskin looks in a tight white top?
How dare you? How dare you bring my character, my integrity, my Britishness
I've seen your
into... Alright, a little bit. Several years after the massacre at Fair Lake, college students Rich Stoker and Hallie Smith are rock climbing in a remote forest in almost heaven, West Virginia. Sorry, I said to myself I wasn't doing that. When Rich reaches the top of the cliff they're climbing, he's suddenly murdered before he can help Hallie up. Someone begins to yank Hallie up the cliff, forcing her to cut the rope and fall to the ground.
She attempts to escape but is caught on a line of barbed wire and pulled back into the woods screaming. She is killed off screen. Sometime later, medical student Chris Flynn drives through the mountains of West Virginia on his way to a business meeting. He stops at a gas station to ask for directions. The elderly owner, named Maynard, is no help.
Chris finds a map and decides to go down Bear Mountain Road. He collides with a stopped car whose tyres have been punctured. The car belongs to a group of college students on a camping trip: Jesse, Carly, Scott, Evan, and Francine. They soon discover their tyre puncture was no accident and find barbed wire wrapped around it, and they realise someone did this intentionally.
Evan and Francine stay to watch the cars, while the others go to find help. Wouldn't really say watching, more like looking for Airbud inside her. Evan disappears after he hears something in the woods. Francis finds his ear on the ground. As she backs away in horror, barbed wire is forced into her mouth by a mysterious figure, who garrots her with it. The remaining group find an isolated cabin and go inside to use the phone, horrified to find human body parts in the house. They are forced to hide inside when the occupants return home.
Before we carry on with this, even though you've seen this film,
Yeah.
It was just so weird for you to say garroted. You were reading it and being horrified at the same time. You know what happens, you saw it. 3 cannibalistic inbred mountain men from Swindon, Three Finger, Sawtooth, and One Eye enter the cabin with Francine's corpse, and the hiding group watch as her body is dismembered and eaten out. Just eaten. After the cannibals fall asleep, the group attempts to escape, but their captors awaken and chase them into the forest. The group find cars left from previous victims and try to make up an escape plan. Chris gets shot in the leg whilst trying to distract the cannibals, and the girls take him to a truck where Evan's body spills out. Scott attempts another diversion for the other 3 to escape, but gets killed with arrows instead. Jesse, Carly, and Chris stumble upon an old watchtower with an old radio and try to call for help.
The cannibals arrive and are alerted when the radio starts responding to the group's call. Unable to get inside, the attackers set the tower on fire. The protagonists escape to jumping out into the trees, triggering a chase in which Carly is decapitated by Three Finger.
Hands down, best
Brilliant.
tree decapitation ever. I just love how he gets it in her mouth.
It's just that perfect shot of her falling down.
Yeah, like the top half stays, the bottom part goes. I know it's 2003 CGI,
Yeah, but it's not that bad,
it's
really,
still,
compared to others. Compared to more modern day CGI that we've seen, it still stands up quite well.
Why do I love this hillbilly cannibal film?
Chris pulls a branch while Jesse lures the attacker's foot, the former, to release it, knocking him down. Jesse and Chris flee and hide in a cave until morning.
The cannibals find them, pushing Chris down the hill, then kidnapping Jesse and taking her back to the cabin. Chris survives a fall and meets a police officer, but the officer is killed by Sawtooth, who shoots him in the eye with an arrow. Chris hitches a ride by holding onto the underside of the truck that Sawtooth drives back to the cabin, which is fucking badass, by the way.
That bit is.
Where Jessie is being tied down to her bed in preparation to be eaten, and watches fearfully as the cannibals chop up the dead policeman. Before they can move on to Jesse, Chris sets the building on fire and drives the truck through the wall.
He fights off the 3 cannibals and frees Jesse, and they escape as Chris kills the cannibals by blowing up the cabin. The pair then drive out of the forest into the cannibals' pickup truck and stumble upon Maynard's gas station nearby. Chris takes the map before he and Jesse leave.
In a mid-credits scene, a deputy sheriff who received the radio call earlier investigates the remains of the destroyed cabin. Laughing insanely, Three Finger, who survived the explosion, rises and kills the deputy. Now, that scene, I always think added in is complete bullshit, because the copper who gets shot with the arrow, he arrived responding to the call. But, hey-ho, this, it went on to spawn...
I think they wanted to make more, and they needed one of them to survive for that.
They made 6 of the bastard things.
But I do think that's the point. They wanted to make more, and they needed a reason why he survived.
I mean...
It didn't really make sense to have another cop come out, but it would have made sense to have more cops come out.
It just kind of feels like that bit was forced in.
To make it makes sense why one survived.
But, yeah, I mean, I can't say cannibal films are at the top of my list for peak entertainment.
But it was fun to see some meatbags running around and getting killed.
It's fun.
It really was.
I mean,
the characters weren't too in depth, so you didn't really care that they were getting killed. It was just fun seeing that chase and the hunt.
I mean, Chris and Jesse, you kind of like. I mean, Chris, he's just a cop from Dexter, isn't he? Let's be real, he never got it on with Deb as much as he'd like to.
He was trying his hardest.
I know. And Jesse, well, she knows a nice white vest, which we've established.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I think it's a fun film. I think Wrong Turn 2 is really good. And then there is a spawn of just more violent, more visceral sequels, which I'm fully on board with.
I think sometimes with these, especially when it's in the sequels and requels and all that, it goes a little bit off the rails. Well, I think Wrong Turn did that. It kind of went off its own rocker.
All of them have, though. I mean, you could look at the Friday franchise. That goes off the rails.
Yeah.
Freddy goes so far off the fucking rails, he needs his passport to get back close to the bastard thing.
In space.
Even Scream has its downsides, which we are obviously covering in depth at the moment. So I can't hate it. I mean,
no, I'm not saying
I haven't seen the 6th one, so I don't know. I mean, Wrong Turn gets bad.
Yeah, it's not that I hate the sequels and I hate the having these long and a lot of films. It's just that you lose what you got from the original film.
The issue is, and I think we'll both agree, how much mileage can you honestly get out of inbred cannibals?